could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time.
7:37 on TSN 690. What a glorious morning it is, isn't it, when the Habs scored 10 goals the night before? Welcome back to Weekend Game Plan. I'm your host, Matthew Ross. We're here until 9 o'clock. Still to come, Habs breakfast at 8:05. Lots to talk about with Habs Eyes on the Prize.com's Andrew Zadarnowski and Amanda Stein of TSN 690, who was at the game. We'll also talk some baseball with Mark Griffin of RDS. That's coming up at 8:30. But right now, time to talk to our next guest. You can follow him on Twitter at Fred Daigle. You can also read his stuff in syndication on the Francophone side of things, sometimes on English as well. We welcome in Fred Daigle. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you this morning?
I'm well. Very well. Always fun when the Canadiens come off a game like that, and you look at the standings and they're in first place. And I'm actually happy that Toronto lost last night in the MLS Cup too. I want Montreal to be the first team to win, the Canadian team, right, to win the MLS Cup. So. It's a good morning.
It's always good to have a little competition with Toronto.
There you go. So, Fred, we've been talking a whole bunch of sports with you recently, but certainly boxing as well, something you've been covering. And you talked to us recently about Lucian Bute and his next moves. Now we know his next move.
And we know it now, and it was kind of a surprising one this week when we learned that he was moving up to the light heavyweight category, the 175 pounds, to face Eleider Alvarez, who's the mandatory opponent for Adonis Stevenson's WBC light heavyweight belt. And it's again a big risk for Eleider Alvarez, who's been the mandatory opponent since last November 2015, and hasn't been able to get a championship fight with Adonis Stevenson for many reasons, good or bad. Either you believe them or not. The fact is that he hasn't fought this championship fight, and now he could lose it all on February 24th. Facing Bute, because Yvon Michel of Groupe Yvon Michel will be asking the WBC this week to make that fight an eliminatory fight. So the winner of that fight would become the mandatory opponent. So if Bute wins against Alvarez, Alvarez will lose his shot at the title.
What did you think of the result last night? Was it predictable for you?
It was a very good boxing card. Alvarez fight was. It was not a flashy fight. Alvarez is not an explosive fighter, and he's not a guy who will get you a knockout like Adonis Stevenson is, or like Lucian Bute used to do for his first 30 fights of his career. Alvarez is more a technical fighter, more a guy who uses his jab and control the center of the ring. And this is what he did yesterday against Norbert Dabrowski from Poland. And he controlled the fight from beginning to end, which isn't as entertaining as a knockout boxer, but is as efficient. Alvarez is now 21-0 with 10 knockouts, and he proved yesterday that he can, and he proved it before fighting Isaac Chilemba for 12 rounds when he became the mandatory opponent. He can go the distance, and he has stamina and he has energy for 10, 12 rounds. So it's not as, and Mark Ramsey, his coach, yesterday told us, he'll never show you Arturo Gatti style fights, but he's methodical, technical, and he makes his points from round 1 to round 10 yesterday. I think I haven't seen on my card he lost maybe 2 rounds, and that was it.
At one point yesterday during the fight, Eleider Alvarez was cut open near his eye.
Yeah.
Was that did that bring a bit of fear in you, or in the Bute camp? You think?
I think that the Bute camp was worried that their February fight could be postponed because of that, and he had a huge swelling. Alvarez had a huge swelling on his right cheek, and but the cut is not worrisome. He got 3 stitches after the fight, and the doctor told him that he could get back in the ring in 3 to 4 weeks. And Mark Ramsey, because these guys are beginning their training camp next Monday for their February 24th fight. So Mark Ramsey told us that he was going to work on strategy and ring movement and stuff that doesn't require Eleider to put the gloves on. So there won't be any delay on that. But during the fight, we were worried because the swelling showed. We thought, hey, what about a fracture? What about something like that? And then this fight goes to hell. I'm sorry for the expression, but and Bute was worried. He was truly rooting for Alvarez to not get hurt and make sure this fight is going to happen.
Talking with Fred Daigle from the Presse Canadienne here on Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross. Fred, I want to switch gears. I know you're a big baseball guy. I just wanted to get your take on Toronto Blue Jays. We'll talk with Mark Griffin of LDS a little later on, but are you surprised at how things have unfolded for Toronto, where they pick up Pierce, a player from Baltimore, but that you see Encarnacion and Bautista still free agents? How have you found this free agency period?
Well, it's kind of surprising, but at the same time, I think it shows maybe how much overvalued, is that the right word, or how much those two guys thought of them maybe higher of what they really were to the rest of Major League Baseball. Especially Bautista, I think at 36, looking for a 5-year contract at the price he's asking. Wow, that's a lot of confidence in yourself when every other Major League Baseball hitters in history, except for Barry Bonds, crashed after 36 years old. So, and he's no Barry Bonds. So,
right.
We'll see for that. But apparently, even the Blue Jays don't think that these guys are worth what they're asking for, even with all the good and all the baseball they gave this organization for the last few years, especially the last 2 ones, maybe for Encarnacion. So, I don't know. I mean, when guys like and I don't want to demean what Mitch Moreland has done in the past, but when guy like Mitch Moreland find a spot before Encarnacion and Bautista, it says a lot maybe on the reputation of these guys that these guys have in the rest of baseball. And seriously, a lot of people talk that the Rogers Center is a hitter-friendly park and that the ball travels very well in this park. So maybe they suffer from the stadium reputation as well.
That's a good point. Fred Daigle, you can see his work in syndication. Fred, what are you working on this week? What should we look for out there?
Well, you know what? It's going to be. I might go to the Carabin presser on Monday with Machocha deciding not to take the Alouettes offer. Apparently, we'll know more about that. Mm-hmm. And freestyle skiing season has started yesterday in Ruka, Finland, and it's going to be year-ender too for me. I'm going to be doing year-ender review on the CFL and Canadian football and boxing. So but you know what? This is what it's like working for a news agency. You never know on a Monday what you're going to be working in half an hour. So
that's the fun. That's the fun, Fred.
Yeah, that takes the routine out of your work.
Yeah, for sure. Merci, Fred.
Merci beaucoup.